Okay. So, hello everyone. It's fantastic to see you here. We're officially launching our monthly meeting. So, I will start with sharing my screen, and I hope you can see this. As always, we'll have time for questions at the end. And also, if there's any technical issue, like you not seeing the presentation, which I'm going to start sharing now, just send me a note. Perfect. Okay, so I hope you're all seeing this presentation. This is our May presentation that will cover the June release. Okay, so what we'll be talking about? So we'll be talking about the Rapido community. Actually, there's great updates on the Rapido community. We'll discuss the June release, which is the big release. It has a lot of new, and also we will touch upon one of our frequently asked questions. So that is one of the things that I wanted to cover with you. And the first thing is that we're celebrating. We're celebrating our 101 actually, but our 100th customer that went live recently with Rapido, and it's Charles Sturt University, which is suits the time zone of the people attending this webinar. So I don't know if you are there listening, but I hope you are. And we're really, really happy to have achieved this milestone. And I still remember our first Rapido going live also from Australia. So Australia has started and also made the milestone of the 100th live customer in Rapido. Amazing achievement and very nice to see. So in celebration mode. Okay, what else is happening? So first of all, we have new this month we have new live Rapido customers. We have customers in Australia. We have customers in North America. So of course we want to welcome them to our community and for the benefit of all of us. Beyond that, I don't know. I hope you saw it, but I sent a message regarding an international. Um, I wanted to make clear I wanted to clarify some things about the international pod. First of all, there is interest for an international pod, and now we have Rapido customers in North America. We have in Canada, in the US, in Australia. We have customers in Switzerland, and we have customers in the UK, and we have customers in Hong Kong, and we're spreading out to more regions in the world. And there was a clear expression of need for an international pod. So this is coming from the community that wanted an international pod. I did send the terms, which I don't remember now. I think the most controversial part of the terms is the 15 days delivery time. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to clarify during this webinar that we can always change those terms. So if 15 days is not enough, and I definitely know that for Australia, it might not be enough. Even in Australia, delivery times might take long. So I am inviting you to discuss with us, to send me an email. Don't refrain from joining the international pod, or at least expressing your desire to join the pod if what's bothering you is the terms, because we can adjust them just to meet the requirements of the community. So if you're interested in that pod, please let me know. If there are problems with the terms in the pod, also let me know, and we will engage in a community effort, some type of voting or something where we can together decide what are the best terms for those pods, so that there is no one institution that cannot join it. That's the main concern. Beyond that, around 2 weeks ago, we were at Luna, so we had the opportunity to meet a lot of institutions that have been working with us very closely with Rapido and hear their sessions, and it was a fantastic opportunity to meet in person. So if someone that was there is here, I just want to reiterate how wonderful it is to see you face to face. And I hope Igloo is upcoming, so I hope to see to have this other opportunity to meet many of you there and also hear your Rapido stories, which was part of a big part of Eluna this year. So bringing a little bit of breath from Eluna. This is a picture from the children's section of the Los Angeles Public Library. What a library, wonderful public library. All the rooms are wonderful, not only the children's books section. So it was just in front of the hotel where the conference was taking place. So we could at all times jump to the library, which is fantastic for a library conference. While I was there, I was reading my emails and I just saw the email that was sent by the community about NERS. So I wanted to remind you that the NERS voting for Rapido, which is joined with the Rapid ILL because in a way they influence each other, has kicked off. So it's time to submit your request. If you have a question, I suggest you refer to your groups, Eluna or Igloo, if there's an issue on how to vote, or just I see that Tracy sent this email, so you can contact Tracy if there's a question. But I encourage you to start voting, and we will be able to very soon hear your voices from the NER side and also add those changes and enhancements to Rapido. Moving on, I'm moving to a slide that we presented at Eluna. So I wanted to present this here today, just to, again, to reinforce what's guiding us and how we're viewing our product. So I call this Rapido at the core. And these are kind of our three directional poles, I would say. The connect pole is really talking about this collective collection. And I think this is a very important way of seeing Rapido. Rapido as the new way of doing resource sharing, really basing it on the collective collection, enabling you as the library to provide everything that your users need beyond what you actually hold in your library in an equitable way. So this is one of our cores, and of course, it guides all of these cores guide our roadmap and the way we're developing. The other core, of course, is the personalization of the product. Again, providing that experience to users that it's visible, that they can select the best option for them at the time of request, and having real clarity of what they're going to receive, what they can receive, and when they're going to receive it, and not need for blank forms, and all of the different reasons for which you might have selected Rapido. And this continues, of course, to be a core guiding our developments. And the optimization, I can share with you a little story about a UK library that joined us recently. And they told a story about seeing a very big increase on the borrowing request. From one side, it's very exciting because they actually are being able to provide their students and researchers with the materials they're needing. From the other side, you might be afraid even to think about how they're going to manage the volume. And they said to us that actually the big increase wasn't affecting at all the staff because most of the things were being handled automatically with Rapido. So again, the efficiencies fall into the optimization, and we will continue to work and make this better as we continue. So this is what we shared at Eluna, and I wanted to share it here so we all have it clear in front of us. And last thing that we announced in Luna, I think it's very important that all our community is aware, is that we are already working very hard, and will be part of 2024, so we're almost getting there in terms of our releases, is that Rapido will be available for libraries that have different library systems beyond Alma. So this is an incredible opportunity to increase the Rapido community in terms of not only our Alma customers, but beyond. Okay, so as you can see, a lot of community-related news, all good news, which is great. And with that, we're moving to summer. So the Rapido June 2023 release, which is coming up very, very soon. So let's take a look at that optimized corner, and this time with focus on the staff. And what I'm going to present to you is something that from the beginning of Rapido I've been hearing, which is a better way to change boring request types. So we did have a cloud app that could be used for changing the request type. But now we've made this totally embedded into the system. So you can see here that we have a new action under the actions for boring request, and it's convert request type. So let's just take a look at the flow, and you can see here that this particular request is for a physical book, and I want to change the request type to a chapter. Okay, so after I click that option to change the request type, I'm going to get this little window, and the pull down here will open up the options that I have for changing the request. So if I open that up, you'll see that I have the options here to change this to either a book chapter or an article. And in this case, I of course want to select the book chapter. So that's what I'm going to do. And moving forward, once you've selected that, the different fields for adding information will open up. Nothing has happened until at this point, so we're just opening up the fields. So for example, in this particular case, since I want to change the request from a physical book to a book chapter, there are more fields here that will enable me to add the relevant information, like the pages, for example, or the chapter number in this case. So I really want chapter number 1 for this borrowing request. So I'm adding here the number 1. And then what I would need to do is just save and edit. So once you save it and edit, the request will change in its request type. But before that, nothing has happened. So if you can do cancel and nothing will happen. But at this point, I'm going to save and edit. And what happens is that, just want to point out, because you might see this happening, in this particular case, I need to fill the copyrights, and I didn't do it before. Okay, so I get a message from the system about the copyright status. So I'm just going to go and fill that out. So I've changed it to copyright approved. Now, when I click save, now you can see that the request was updated successfully, and it will be reflected on the task list. So you can see that the same request that I had before has been changed. The format has been changed from physical book to book chapter digital. Nice thing is that beyond having that, you can see that the history of the request also records this information. So you have the information about the change in the request format also recorded, stored in the request itself. Okay, so now I'm going to make a little jump into new functionality that I'll present a little bit later, but it's kind of related also to this development in some way. So don't fear if you don't understand what I'm talking about. It will all make sense at the end of this webinar. But there is a new option that I'll present shortly to also request physical journals. And we'll talk about that option separately. It has it's a whole story in itself. But I just wanted to point out that I could also change the request to be of type journal physical. You didn't see that before when I showed you my previous slides, because the option to do those types of requests of journal physical, which is not what every site and every institution wants. So I don't think that everyone's going to run and do this, but I know there institutions do want this option. This is actually controlled by a new setting that we have under Rapido. So I'll talk about the setting when we go into that section. What I wanted to point out here is that if your institution is not doing physical journals, you won't see the option here. So to compare to that type of requesting. So the reason we're seeing it here is because I have set up that specific setup that I'll present to you later. So if you don't change anything in your system today, when you do the change borrowing request action, you won't see the journal if you haven't applied that new development that I'll present soon. So it's a little side note, just to remember in case you were wondering why you don't see it, if you try it out. Okay, we're moving on to new functionality. So remember, we've talked about being able now to change the request format in a very smooth and efficient way. And now we're moving to printing slips by demand from the borrowing task list. So this is something that didn't exist before this June release. And what I want to show you is that I'm here on the task list. So the idea is to be on the task list. And if for some reason you want to reprint, usually this is part of the regular workflow. You don't need to do this separately, but you didn't see the printouts. You want to reprint them. Something happened. Now we have the option to do this from the borrowing task list, as you have it, I think, from the lending list. So you can see here, we've added this new option, print slip. It's part of those bulk options that we have for requests. And you can do it for a couple of requests, or you can do it for a single request. So once you've selected one or more requests, you'll have the option available to print the slip. So this is what we've added. And I just want to run with you about, because there are different slips at different times that are printed. So I want to run with you on on what happens when you select this option, because what will happen, what will be printed, will differ according to the status of the request and what has happened. So actually, what printout is relevant for that request to print out in this type of bulk action. Again, I do want to mention that this is something that you might not need to use at all. We've heard from some institutions that they need this option, but if your regular workflow is flowing and your prints are printing as you want, it's something that you might not need, but it's important just to understand how it works. So first of all, for requests that were not yet received, the material has not yet received, no print slip is printed for these cases. So for example, if you selected 3 different requests to print, and one of those was not yet received, you will get a message telling you that for one of those it failed. It failed because for those we're not printing the slips at this point. Moving on, for requests that were received but not yet returned, the resource sharing receive slip letter is the one that is printed. So this is what I want you to, and of course we have all of this in the documentation, so no need to take notes and remember by heart. But if the request was received but not yet returned, the print that will be printed is the resource sharing receive slip letter. For requests that were returned, the resource sharing return slip letter is print. So you can see here what I'm trying to point out is that there are 2 different slips that are printed when you select this option, depending on the status of that request, whether it was returned or not returned. And again, the idea is that you can select multiple as I show you. So the system will know what to print in that case, and the indication of how many printouts were done and how many failed will show up. Now, the failing again could be because the resources were not yet received, and you actually selected that request. Okay, moving on to another development. Okay, so this is regarding the lost workflow. And by the way, we're going to soon have a little webinar on the whole lost workflow, so stay tuned. We will. But what we've done here for the June release is the possibility to apply automatically those fees for loss to the users based on terms of use when this happens. So today, what happens today before this development is that even though you have terms of use defined, you might have terms of use defined for fees in cases of lost, then you would still manually need, after the whole lost workflow, to apply them manually to the user. If you want this to happen automatically, this is what we're adding with this release. So under configuration, resource sharing, which is the configuration for Rapido, and general settings, we've added a new setting, which is resource sharing use terms of use for lost item. Try to make it clear. And if you change this to true, like I've done here, then those fees will apply automatically. So I want to show you what I mean by those fees and how the system will work. So my terms of use here, the ones that I've defined are the lost item fine. So the fine that I will be applying is 20. And the lost item replacement fee that I'm applying is 35. This is a good point to start. This is policy of the library deciding that this particular library wants to apply these fees to the user unrespectively to what the lending side is maybe charging me for losing the item. So there might be workflows. So this workflow might not be relevant for you because there might be workflows where you only apply fees to your users if the lending library is charging you, and you might want to apply those fees to the user to cover for the loss. In this particular case, you might not want to use this development, but we do have institutions that have a defined set of fees besides the lending fee and not in relation to what the lending side is asking for. So, and also we might have sites that are only using a lost item fine. So they're not asking for a fee for replacement. So they're not defining number 8 here, but they're only finding them in a way of an educational process. Okay, so it's important just to remember that this is not mandatory, but the development will have an effect on these two fees that I'm referring to here. Okay, so let's take a look at the workflow. Okay, so I have this wonderful book that has been loaned to my patron. And patron comes and says, sorry, I've lost the item. Okay, so the way we would work the workflow would be to go into the request and mark it as lost. Then a little window pops up and you can add a note that will be sent to the lender. And fortunately, our patron has lost the item. This will be communicated to the lender when using the option. And also my borrowing request has changed to lost communicated. So I've communicated that I don't have the item has been lost. Since I've set up that parameter that I showed you before to true, I don't have to do anything. And my patron now has, so I'm here, you can see here I'm under user, my user and the details, and under the fine and fees. And you can see that automatically the fees have been applied. So we have the 20 for the fine and the 35 for the replacement, which has been translated in the labels to cost recovery for the patron in this particular setup. But it's the same fee. Okay. Fantastic. But my patron suddenly sees the fees and magic, he's found the book. So he runs to the library and returns the book. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually checking back I'm returning that particular book that I showed you before, because he suddenly recalled that he had that he found the book. The system gives back a message telling me that the lost item is being checked in, and let's take a look at the fees. So in this case, you can see that now immediately I went to check the user. So the loss fee remains. So the loss fee is kind of the fee for educational purposes. You've lost it even if you've returned it. We're going to apply this fee so you don't do this in the future. But the replacement fee has been removed because there is no need for replacement. The reason I'm pointing out and showing you how this functions is because I want you to know that if, for example, you want to only charge your user, but if they return the book, you want to delay that, remove that fee, you can use only the recovery fee and not use the lost fee that I just showed. So it's a matter of deciding how you want to control this. In any case, the way the system behaves is that if the item is returned, automatically the recovery fee is removed. But the fine for losing the item and reporting it as lost will remain. Of course, you can delete it manually if this is what you wish to do. So again, just to summarize this big development, the whole idea is that you want those terms of use to be applied automatically and the fee to move to the user once he has declared that he has lost the item. Okay, so we're moving on into our personalized corner. And this is where we're going to talk about that option to request physical journals. And beware, a very long slide with lots of words is coming up. So I'll try to summarize this with you. So first, let's talk about the development, okay? The development is the option to actually be able to request a physical journal copy. That's the development. Second bullet, and I'll try to summarize it for you, is that now we have two setups that control that, one that existed and one that is the new one. So the new one is, and I'll show it in a second, again, under configuration, resource sharing, general and other settings, we have a new option to enable, to show physical journal offers. So the first thing, if you want to enable your users to receive offers for physical journals, you would need to set up this parameter to true. The second one, of course, is that if for some reason you've hide journal tiles using our display logic rules, which is something that already exists, even if you set this to true, your users won't have a physical journal offer. So the reason I'm showing you this is because I want you to have it clear in your mind that if you're hiding journals, but you set this to true, there won't be shown any journal physical options, the tile. So it has to be a combination. You enable journal tiles, but you're also setting this. I just want to also clarify, just to maybe if you're fearing that there's going to be a change because of this development, the way you have set up the system. If you do have the display logic rule set to enable physical journals, what you'll see today, and I'll remind you in around two slides, is that little tile that says when you fall into result of a journal, a little tile that says, do you want to request an article from this journal? A portion from this journal. So that will continue to work. You don't have to do anything about it. I'll show you when I show the slide of the tiles that will be displayed, what will be the change. So no fears, no change. Your system will continue to work as today if you don't touch anything. If you do want to add the option for physical journals, you need to set this parameter, Rapido show physical journal offer, to true. Here it's false, but change it to true. This is the default. And if your display logic rules are enabling tiles for journals, you'll be able to see it. So let's take a look at the screen. It's going to make more sense in a second. Okay, so again, today when we look for a journal, what you would get is the option to, if your display logic rules enable it, the option to get an article out of that journal. And now what we're adding here is the possibility to get a physical copy if this is something your library is enabling. Of course, for all of this to work, let's say in terms of a Rapido offer, not this particular offer, but in general, receiving an offer, participating items have to be defined. The system needs to find one. Again, it doesn't need to find one because we can offer also the tile if we haven't found one in our network. But the option to display the tile is tied to this new parameter being set to true. And then when you open up that, when you do the get it button, when you check the, you click the get it button, what you will get is a form. And of course, the form is expecting you to, the user to add the proper information, because out of that journal, we need to know which volume, which issue, publication date, etc. So they will get this form requesting for more information. At least one of those has to be added. And once the request is placed, one thing I wanted to point out that you can see here that the type requested is journal physical. I want to talk, it's a little bit confusing, but I want to make sure so that everyone understands what happens from the other side. So if a request like this lands on my pool because I've enabled it either through participating items or through terms of use for peer-to-peer, but I haven't enabled it for my users, so my users are not seeing this. For now, this will show up as article physical. So just note that there is this little caveat. It doesn't need to confuse you. I just wanted you to know, because if you're wondering if this is a bug, it isn't a bug yet. I do want to say that we still have to see how many of you are going to use this. So we know there are big consortia that are willing to use this, and they're doing consortial borrowing by between them, and they will all probably set this new parameter to true. Okay. So we're going to move on still with our user. And finally, users can request digitization, a digitization of a portion for a dissertation or thesis, which is something we didn't have. So what we had before was only the option to the complete thing. You couldn't just select what you wanted. So this has changed. And beyond the want a physical copy now, when you get the want a digital, with the digital option for this one, will actually show the user the options that will enable them to request a partial portion of that thesis. So we continue to make progress on making our offers more exact, and this will continue to be a process as we receive feedback from you, from your users, and you to fine-tune those Rapido offers as we go. Okay, lastly, I'm moving to the analytics corner, which is a very important corner. So with this release, we have a lot of a new section dedicated to copyrights. So let's run through what we've added with the June release. What we did here is a lot of copyright out-of-the-box work. So you will now find out-of-the-box analytics for supporting your evaluation of requests for copyright compliance and reporting. And together with that, so take a look once you get the release. We added widgets also for helping you monitor and track your requests. Those that you've marked as approved copyright, you see those widgets, and you can use them to count requests that were approved for copyright for future payment or payments made via the Cloud app. So the CCC and the reprints this Cloud app, you can see here some of the images we've done here so that you can control what's happening there. And again, the idea is that, for example, you could use the widget to show purchases from this year made out through reprints this, the Cloud at CCC, get it now, and control that in a better way. Okay, now we're moving to our frequently asked questions, and the question today has been asked many, many, many times, so I hope we finally have an answer. We've documented it also so that everyone knows what to do. And the question is related to resource sharing blocks. Okay, so how do I block a user from doing resource sharing? It's a great question, and the answer is not intuitive. So we thought it would be good to present it here and have it clarified finally. Okay, so user blocks, you probably know the user blocks in Alma. You can use, you can, from the block, the block section, you can define a block for loan requests, for renewals, for hold requests, etc. Block can have one or a combination of this block and the reason, and they can be configured by an administrator. So how do you combine this with resource sharing? And the answer is you need to open a support ticket. So open it for the Rapido, or Rapido team will help you. This is the way the system works. So if you wish to add to any type of combination, the resource sharing block option, just please open a ticket, and our support team will be very, very happy to enable that block for you. Okay, what I'm going to do now is stop sharing. Okay. And I'm wondering, I'm going to check the chat. There's some questions already. There's some comments on the chat, so I'm going to take a look, and you're all welcome to add your questions. Okay, I'm reviewing because I have a few. So the first question was regarding the cost of the pod. So as the international pod. So first of all, we in Rapido are trying to keep this reciprocity, and we expect that people will be sending you materials as way as you sending those materials. So at this point, there's no cost to that pod, and we would like to keep it like this. I understand there might be some concern, but for now, the idea is just to have this reciprocity. I do want to mention that the whole idea is, of course, to set up this pod, I imagine, as last resource. So as a last option. I think we still have a way to go for this. So we need to close up the delivery time and see who's joining that pod. By the way, we already have interest. So they're already interested sites. So we need to see how it goes, and maybe even set up a meeting with those that are interested. I think that would be one of the good points, just to set up a meeting with those that are interested in this pod and see what other concerns you have. Again, I do want to encourage you to think positive about the pod and have the meeting. Okay, doesn't mean you need to already go into it. So a call for action here. Those that really want to discuss this, to be part of this pod, I will love to have you there. But I understand it might be something you can't do. Okay, are there any restrictions on when you change the request type? I think the only restriction that I can think about at this point, and I hope I'm not losing everything, is that of course, if you've received already the material, I think that's like the end statuses. You won't be able to change the request type because it's 1 minute too late. I hope I'm right regarding this one. Okay, and there's a question here from Paul regarding the setting regarding that automation of the lost item, whether this is for Alma Resource Sharing. The answer no. This is a Rapido flow, and as you can see, Alma libraries don't have access to those settings, so they wouldn't be able to set up this setting to true. This is only for Rapido. Of course, it's using the terms of use defined under Alma terms of use. So I hope that answers that. There's a great question here by Fiona that I am not sure about the answer. I need to try to find out an answer. I'm not sure. I think no. The answer is no, but I'm not sure. The idea of whether the international pod could be only for undergraduates. I'm wondering if some type of mediation, we do have this coming up at some point, mediating by pod, could be of help. So for sure, we're going to have the mediation by pod. Okay, I think it's something that we've heard a lot also. So I think it would be a way to control this. Maybe not immediately, but a way to control it. In a way, it could be a good thing just to see who is requesting what, but mediating by pod and user group. So you would be able to do that type of combination. So let go everything that's not undergraduates immediately to the, automatically to find a partner in the international pod. But for those that are not part of that user group, maybe mediate and see what they're asking, let it go, not let it go, suggest another option, do some type of ILL work there. For those, I think this is what we'll be seeing as happening. Okay, there's a lot of questions about whether the partner has shipped whether the partner has shipped the request, and whether you can change the request type. So I need to find out about this, and I will let you know. Okay, I'm taking notes. Okay. Okay, and thank you, Fiona, for your further feedback on the international. You're saying I just want to be, I guess everyone can see this, but I want to be clear that you're saying mediation would be good, but it would be even better to just not offer the option. So I know for sure that we don't have that at this point, but it's a good point. Okay, let's see if we have more questions. Okay, I'm not seeing more questions for now. But I want to thank you again for joining our webinar. And I suppose I'll see all of you next month. So thanks, Amelia. Take care. Bye bye.